The hall is known for its remarkable preservation, offering visitors a rare glimpse into the life of a wealthy Victorian family. Managed by English Heritage, Brodsworth Hall is unique because it has remained largely unchanged since it was built, preserving its original furnishings, decor, and even many personal items of the families who lived there. Brodsworth Hall was built in the 1860s for Charles Sabine Thellison, a wealthy landowner and descendant of a Swiss banking family. The hall was designed by the Italian architect Philip Wilkinson, who created a grand and elegant structure in the Italianate style. Popular at the time, the hall is a fine example of the Italianate style, characterized by its symmetrical design, tall windows, and classical proportions. The exterior of the house is made of ashlar limestone, giving it a light, elegant appearance. The hall was designed to showcase the wealth and taste of its owner, with lavish interiors and state-of-the-art amenities for the time. The Thellison family lived at Brodsworth Hall for several generations. The house and estate were passed down through the family, with each generation adding to the collection of art, furniture, and other possessions. However, over time, the family's wealth declined, and by the mid-20th century, the house had become difficult to maintain. By the 1980s, Brodsworth Hall was in a state of significant disrepair. The last private owner, Sylvia Grant Dalton, struggled to keep up with the costs of maintaining the large house. In 1988, she passed the estate to English Heritage, which embarked on an extensive conservation project. Rather than fully restoring the house to a specific period, English Heritage chose to preserve it in a conserved-as-found state, maintaining the wear and tear that had accumulated over the years. The interiors of Brodsworth Hall are particularly fascinating, as they provide an authentic glimpse into Victorian life. The rooms are furnished with original furniture, paintings, and personal items, giving a sense of how the house was lived in over the decades. Visitors can see the grand drawing rooms, the ornate dining room, the library, and the family bedrooms, all preserved much as they were in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. In addition to the family's living spaces, the hall also includes the servants' quarters, kitchens, and other working areas, which illustrate the behind-the-scenes life of a large country house. These areas are also well preserved, providing insight into the lives of the many servants who worked at Brodsworth Hall. During 2017, we invested £1.5 million and embarked on a major project to help halt the decay of this Grade 1 listed Victorian country house. Brodsworth Hall came into our care in 1990, in a serious state of disrepair. In order to preserve the building's rich history, we took the decision to conserve the hall instead of restoring it to its original grandeur. Throughout the 1990s, our conservators and engineers worked hard to stabilize the hall and its interiors, and now we've been able to continue their work. Without delving too far back into the realms of history, everything starts for the house way back in the 1700s, with a gentleman called Peter Thellison. He came from the continent and settled in England, gradually acquiring land including the Brodsworth estate. He was a very wealthy man. He was in fact a banker, and he wrote what has since become a very famous will. In his will he put the bulk of his fortune into a trust fund. This was around £700,000 in today's money. This is worth around £54 million, so you can appreciate how wealthy he was. The money was to stay in the trust fund for 3 generations, accumulating interest all the time. When the 3rd generation had passed on, the 4th, then unborn, generation could eventually inherit. He left to his family living at the time about £100,000 to share between them. His will was read in 1797, and initially his family were delighted. £100,000 to share was an awful lot of money, about $7.5 million in today's money. Of course, they soon realized that there was another £700,000 locked away in a trust fund that they couldn't get their hands on at all. Well, the family weren't going to stand for this, so they took the will straight to court. The courts had never seen anything like it. Such a huge amount of money put by for such a length of time, and to be quite honest, they didn't know what to do about it at all. Charles Dickens' particular novel Bleak House has a legal case in it, of Jarndyce versus Jarndyce. Charles Dickens actually based his story on, among others, the real-life case of the Thellisson family versus Peter Thellison's will, so you can appreciate how important it was in its day. Now, the courts did allow the will to stand, but it took over half a century for them to reach this decision. Many lawyers were disappointed when the Thellisson case eventually came to a close, as they had been